Hello, welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Daily Live.
Hello.
News overnight that Everton may well be about to be fully taken over by 777 Sports Group. There's been lots about them recently. There's still some debate as to whether or not they'd pass any kind of fit and proper test anyway, and whether it will actually go forward. But the news as of last night, and it's ran into today, is that they may well be the new owners of Everton Football Club, which goes a little bit against what Farhad, whether you believe what he says or not. His message is very much being Everton were looking for investment and expertise rather than Everton were fully for sale.
Yeah.
But this story that I think it was first appeared on Bloomberg, I think, last night, and has now been picked up by everybody. The Telegraph.
Repeating it.
Yeah, Telegraph have got it today. Sky have got it, obviously, as well. Says that it's actually a full takeover that they're in talks for. So, what's your understanding of it, John?
Well, deals that are close don't always get closed. So that's the first thing. So, you know, the story that's circulating, and because inevitably what happens with these things is that somebody perhaps goes first on a thing, don't they? In the sense of, hey, we've got an exclusive almost, yeah? And they go with it. And then somebody else on a different platform or whatever says, oh, what's that? And then they do their investigation, say, oh, it's real. And then they repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And I guess sometimes it gets repeated, even when it's not real. You know, because you've got editors, I suppose, saying, why is everyone doing this story and we are not? Yeah. But then when someone reputable like Alan pops up and sticks it on his social media, and then Sky obviously interviewing, presumably at home in his garden, wherever it was, yeah, and he gives the précis of what's going on, then you have to sit up and take notice, because he doesn't just go with rumours. He'll have spoken to people, he'll cross-referenced it and ended up with a probability, minimally, that this is real. But the reality, as reported, is they're close to a deal. Now, is that close to agreeing a deal, close to closing a deal, and so on, right? Now, you can't close the deal until the Premier League have said, yes, we consider you an appropriate owner of a Premier League football club.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised if that takes months, because you would think it was more a factual VAR rather than a subjective VAR.
Yeah.
Having said that, it didn't seem to get in the way of a subjective VAR for Newcastle United, did it? So maybe it is a bit case-based and therefore can take a time. And if it does take a time without any announcement from Farhad Moshiri or indeed the football club, then it's not good for the most important stakeholder, because the fans are being ignored again. As far as what this deal is, that might be close. If it's a full takeover, that's Farhad Moshiri selling his shareholding. That means the money goes to Farhad Moshiri.
Yeah.
It's the football club that needs money. It's the football club that needs, you know, working capital and capital investment for completing the stadium and so on. So, in that sense, Farhad getting as much money as he thinks he can get and walking off into the sunset doesn't necessarily change the state that Everton Football Club find itself in, of needing, you know, cash ultimately. So even when a new owner announces, yeah, we're it now, yeah, they have to be able to step up to that as well. You know, and what does this do to the MSP thing, which hasn't closed yet?
That is still being mooted, though, isn't it? Still being
Yeah,
mentioned.
it's expected. You know,
the 100 million loan for the stadium, to finish the stadium.
Yeah. But again, if they had the funds to hand, which they did, because it went on, you know, Securities Commission and all that sort of stuff, so people could see it, and they thought they were close to agreeing a deal that would have had it convertible into equity at a later date, then why hasn't it happened then? And maybe it hasn't happened because it's going to come from somewhere else, that money. I mean, Farhad, if nothing else, is a difficult, we talked about it on the sofa, haven't we, is a difficult guy to deal with, because he clearly has a number of plates that are spinning. And, you know, I did a tweet this morning to Al, because I've done stuff in the past, and sometimes the best deals are when if you're the winner, of course. Yeah. But
Yeah.
the best deals are when everyone thinks the other guy has won until you get announced as the winner.
Well,
So who knows what really is going on?
listen, we have done this before. We've mentioned this before when MSP were looking to be involved. When Farhad Moshiri got the club, it was announced on the day
No one heard
No one
anything
knew.
until it happened.
because it was the two Americans who were shouting the mouth off at the time. They
Yeah.
were going to be the
Yeah, yeah,
ones. They were going
absolutely.
to take over. They'd been over to see it. They'd been shown around. They were doing this. They were doing that. Farhad Moshiri's the new owner of Everton Football Club the next day.
Minority shareholder at the time.
At the time, but he was in
but
with
it was
the money.
announced as a
Billionaire.
there was a deal for him to get control down the track.
Exactly.
And
so
we may
he
see
was
that
in.
again, right? Which is when does investment, let's call that a short-term need, turn into a takeover, which is a long-term event. And again, when we've done the business with Blaney stuff on the sofa, we've talked about you get in the door because he wants, if we're talking about Farhad, or the club actually, the club wants stroke needs a certain amount of cash.
Yeah.
And it's prepared to allow that to convert into equity down the track, which inevitably would dilute all existing shareholders. In other words, the football club prints some shares and MSP were going to buy them.
Yeah.
You know, but once you get through the door and you do your due diligence, particularly if you're a venture capitalist type group, who, if you do anything right, it is acquiring assets that have upside. Yeah, ideally distressed ones, so you get them at a not at a premium, but the opposite, get them at a discount. And certainly everybody would expect that Farhad Moshiri, if he does bail out any time before the stadium's concluded, he will be going at a discount. A discount to what he spent, if not a discount to the actual value of the club. But once you get your foot through the door, you go, whoa, if it was good business for us to get 20-25% shareholding, it might be even better business to get 51 or 60 or 70 or 80 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Thing with the 777 people is there's no real visibility that they've got the wherewithal to do that. But of course, what we don't know is how much Farhad Moshiri thinks he's going to catch a cold and how much he's prepared to take just to get out the door and run away.
Yeah.
If indeed that is what is happening. And if that's in the few hundred million space, then people would say, well, if they've got a few hundred million, then yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you do it? Because you know it's undervalued and it should be worth a lot more than that. Yeah. But if it goes to someone scraping the money together to actually buy his shares, where does the capital investment come that the business needs? Where does the cash flow, working capital stuff, where does all that come from? Now,
Not what we want, is it?
It smacks of huge potential for being a leveraged buyout, doesn't it? Where they're acquiring the business potentially with money they don't have, written against assets that they don't own until they walk through the door. So it could be interesting. Could be interesting.
Interesting's not a word.
Well, you're going to get some serious debate, aren't you? Particularly on the echo chamber platforms and stuff like that, because you're going to have some people over on your left hand side or right, whichever you choose, who will almost believe in the short term they'll do anything to get rid of Kenwright and Moshiri, and then as soon as they've gone, all focus goes on the new boys. Then, so the Moshiri thing was the best way it's been done in recent times, hasn't it? Which is you don't know anything about it. While you're still getting your head around it, it's done. And that's what's needed. These long periods of uncertainty and doubt are painful. Painful for the fans and perhaps painful for the fabric of the football club as well, because so much needs to be done.
Can I just jump in here? We've had confirmation that the 100 million from MSP, the loan, has gone into Everton.
Oh, excellent.
Okay.
So that's good news. So again, that gives Farhad longer to negotiate, doesn't it?
So that's that was listed as
We expected that to happen.
finish the stadium, wasn't it?
That
was what it was.
To enable the finishing of it, yeah. There's
was what it was
nuance
said.
around it, isn't it? Because the expectation was that in evidencing that someone is prepared to lend such a large sum of money, then the more traditional lenders of big banks and stuff are more likely to take up the slack. And if that's the case, that's good news. I mean, we had a shareholders meeting last night, a committee meeting, and of course we keep remembering seems an eternity ago now, because you were there, weren't you? Being in DC, July 2022, and Mashiri, and I know people suspect he doesn't tell the truth, the whole truth, and not but the truth all the time, and he is open to misinterpretation. But it was very black and white, and he was asked to to qualify what he said. He said the stadium is funded till the end of 2023. Now he's just got money, which we're told is for the stadium. That presumably means any payments due to Lang O'Rourke or whatever into the early part of 2024 are now there. Boys and girls, that's 5-6 months away. So we may have to suffer a lot of uncertainty between now and then, simply because there's no deadline for him, is there, in that sense, other than, so you set the stadium side a bit for a while, because the cash, if that's what it's, dirty word, ring-fenced, then you're into, well, what about the working, capital that the business itself needs? And, we know that Andy Bell or whomever chucked a few tens of millions in a while ago to do that. Are those few tens of millions needed again? So from a deal negotiation point of view, it's a great game, if that's the sort of game you like playing. And in this sense, apart from the fact that Farhad's an interesting character to deal with, I think, if that 100 million hadn't turned up, then the clock would be against him. But he's just bought a bit more time, hasn't
he? Someone's asking, don't they already own sports clubs? Well, they already own Hertha Berlin, Genoa, Vasco da Gama in Brazil, Standard Liège,
Sevilla,
and French third-tier side Red Star. And additionally, the company owns a piece of Sevilla and has purchased the British basketball club London Lions in 2021. And has took a 45% stake in British basketball a year later. They've also agreed to a 5-year deal to control Melbourne Victory. That was in last January. They took that. So they do have ownership of a lot of clubs. We've seen of late, very recently even, Standard Liège fans protesting against them. Lots of other supporters not happy with their involvement. Haven't done what they said, broken promises, whatever. I mean, we could say some of that as well, couldn't we? But that's what's been said.
Did they promise a striker or something?
Amongst everything else.
Yes.
So
it's interesting because they're
not getting great PR, put it that way, are they? And the other thing as well is, even if this deal is agreed, it will take some time for it to be completed. They do have to pass the Premier League's fit and proper owners test, and things are getting changed all the time. After Newcastle's deal was strangely accepted overnight.
Wouldn't necessarily take some.
But stuff was changed from that then.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting with the Newcastle stuff is, after that was done, there was then something put in about government owning football clubs once Newcastle were patted on the back, which I think has probably moved the Chinese consortium out of the picture, with certain links have been said back to governments and whatever. So there's no guarantee that 777, even if they were able to prove they had the money, and apparently their assets are worth 6 billion of what they currently own. There's no guarantee they would actually pass that test anyway. And it'd give Evertonians, if they weren't happy, a chance to vent their feelings and let people know.
Well, it's an interesting one, because have you looked at why they've got bad press in detail?
I've just read little bits and pieces.
Just how, and
that's broken. Fans are gonna. Of course, we are emotional about our football clubs. It's a nightmare for clubs in one way, and it's an actual godsend in the other. Because if we weren't emotional about our football clubs, we wouldn't go, would we? If they were crap, we wouldn't go. You wouldn't go and see the same play over and over again if it was awful, would you? With awful people in it, awful players, characters, actors, whatever. We are hooked. It's why you drive up and down the bleeding country at whatever hour of the day, night, whatever, to watch this team, knowing probably we ain't going to win a game or whatever. You go with the hope. You're always playing on the hope, aren't you? and that's football fans across the world. So if your Standard Liège, who've the latest ones protesting, they were promised investment and better players and we want to win stuff, whatever.
All the things you'd expect someone
A
trying
new
to
owner,
sell
of course,
themselves
of
to
course.
the guys who own it. Yeah.
And apparently, well, it hasn't happened, has it? And there'll be other. I haven't looked. I know Philip O'Clair's done bits on these. There's other people have took up the mantle and journalists on this group. They're unsavoury, whatever. I know Josh Wonder, who was elected to the ECA, I think, the European Club
Clearly they didn't
Association.
mind, but then that's not a good.
It's not a great market, though, is it?
Yeah.
So listen, in every story, there's two sides, of course, there is. And just because one person says this about them doesn't necessarily mean it's absolutely correct. But I would rather Everton were being bought by people who lots of other people were saying are tremendous owners and are great and are going to do this, and there's evidence based. So everybody, I think,
had
is
no
right.
baggage at all.
Or didn't have any baggage.
Got lots of money. Well, if they haven't got any expertise, then they'd have to bring money, wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these guys presumably would advertise themselves as a, Citigroup light type thing, where we've got a range of franchises, whatever you want to call them, and the sum of the parts, grows up to be a bigger whole. Yeah. And clearly, if you've got, apparently sufficient influence over Sevilla to be one of the reasons why they put every player up for sale. Yeah. Then and clearly you've got control of other clubs. Some of whom have got relegated, some of whom have been relegated and got promoted again, but still have the budget reduced. But maybe they're just pragmatic business decisions, quite cutthroat business decisions. And they're not necessarily types of decisions that are going to sit well, as you say, with an emotional group of the most important stakeholders, which are the fans. And one of the, the Trusted Executive, which is actually a book written by a mate of mine, talks about be careful about making promises. And I remember first meeting I had with the previous chief exec at Everton. Said to her, whatever you do, don't make promises you can't deliver. Whatever you do, and because you've then got to be quite adept at explaining why you couldn't. And I think I spoke to a journalist this morning, and one of the things I said about these guys was, if they do seduce the owner to sell a load of his shares, so that they get control, then the first challenge is dealing with what is going to be probably a very unhappy fan base. So the story better be good. And the only way you can illustrate good stories is with just that, examples. And if the examples are Standard Liège fans hate us, when Hertha Berlin got relegated, and Genoa got promoted again, but the budget's cut, and Sevilla have got all their players up for sale, how do you get a story around that? And without actually making the relationships with those other clubs even worse, because clearly a foundation of a story is, but the jewel in the crown is a Premier League football club.
Well, let me ask you this, because Ian Curry in the chat, never mind chat, says, doesn't the 100 million from MSP now muddy the water with MSP and 777 and Rights and Media all competing for shares? Well, Rights and Media aren't competing for shares, are they? They're just a loan company, aren't they, basically?
Rights and Media are a lender to the football club. MSP are a lender to the football club. The football club is still a going concern. And we need to be careful about muddying the waters between what Moshiri's doing, right? Because if we go back not many weeks, and MSP, the story was it not, that they were going to loan a certain amount of money to the football club, not to Farhad, to the football club, and at a later date, that would be converted potentially into whatever it was, 20-25% shareholding in the club. That was the share, those shares were coming from the club. That was the plan.
Yeah.
So it would be a share placement, and replace a loan with an equity shareholding. If Farhad Moshiri sells his shares, that money goes to Farhad Moshiri.
Yeah.
So hence why we come back around that loop again. Well, hang on a minute. If we just replace guys who are a guy who's cash strapped with a company that's cash strapped, how does that help? So something's got to be done that makes it look more attractive than just Farhad's found somebody who he can sell to. Now, clearly what they will have a better chance at, I think, albeit maybe not exactly glowing, if you look at the relationship with the fans, is that they've got experience of running football clubs or being influential in the running of football clubs.
I mean, what you've worked are these venture cap and Seven?
In essence,
in essence, and you've obviously worked with venture capitalists. What do you think makes these different from MSP in terms of, obviously there was MSP was greeted with quite clearly more positive outlook, wasn't it? There was talk, I know they're involved in Formula One, different things, so there was talk of expertise within the sporting arena, if you like. Why do you think is it simply because the evidence is there that these haven't done as good a job as what others
I haven't
done?
looked at it close enough to know whether they've done a good job or not, particularly in business terms.
Yeah, okay.
It's about business terms. And one of the things that we as fans enjoy or not, is the emotional side of it. Because positive and good days and bad days, my friend. Right?
Yeah.
And therefore, our expectation is that anyone who owns our football club is going to live and breathe the same objectives that we do, which is fundamentally spend your last penny on trying to get that centre forward. But if people come into a business to realise a return on their investment, then that's not necessarily what they're going to do, is it?
Yeah. Well, not the same way we want it now.
That's right.
Obviously, and people might look and go, where are those people? But those people are, I mean, Manchester City have proved that those people are out there. And my thing, John, when I look at it,
their objectives are different, right?
Yeah, but okay, sorry, let me rephrase it. The disappointment for me is not whether or not Everton can get the... Sorry, Ned, just use that cup. Sorry, mate.
Cheers, Ned. Thanks, mate.
And he'll have one time. Not whether or not these will do what City have done. Obviously, they won't do what City have done. But there must be people out there who want to buy into Premier League football clubs, who want to do what City have done. Now, it's more difficult to get that. It isn't the same landscape as it was when Manchester City came in. Manchester City came in, you were still able to spend whatever you had.
What do you think City have done? What was their objective? The owners of Manchester City, what was their objective? I'll just give you two. Was it to make a profit out of the investment that they've made, or something else?
I don't know.
Was there something else, isn't
it? No, but that's what I was going to say. Whether they made the profit, they're promoting the country, but they've done everything. Like, so you look at like the Etihad campus, unbelievable. What's gone on there?
Well, we're doing it now. That's great. What's happened to Eastlands is great. The catalyst for all of that was the Commonwealth Stadium, but then building the academy, the campus. They're still building stuff. The new small stadium, whatever, all that sort of stuff. But that's all to promote what a wonderful culture.
Of course, and I've got
the owners come from. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
the same will happen with Newcastle to some degree.
Are there more of them out there? Why are Everton seemingly struggling to get someone to come in of that ilk? When, I mean, we were at a business conference last week. We were told
inundated from
North America with hugely wealthy owners that want a Premier League football club and want to be big and win stuff. Well, hang on, there's only, as far as I'm aware, right now, one Premier League club that's begging for someone to take it over. So why have we ended up...
I really don't know.
I'm just saying, why do you think we've ended up with ones that have got a terrible reputation at the moment because of what's being put out there? Seemingly, like you said before, if they have got to go and scrape this money together to buy this fella out, where's the money coming for the rest of the stuff that actually needs doing at our football
Which is
club?
the point we're making, yeah.
And
if you're only getting the people who can just about afford to buy it in the first place.
Then but also going to be, isn't we're going to be in exactly the same position with different fellas who may actually make
people.
Yeah, and that again, that's for me. That's the real worry here, is that we might be missing people who want this football or could be persuaded to take this football club because of the huge opportunity that it presents you, and develop it. Again, just to reiterate, it isn't what it was like when City took over. No one's going to have free reign. So therefore, almost having Newcastle's wealth is almost irrelevant nowadays for the simple reason
in binary terms,
in that way of just
compared
being
to City, you can't do it.
You can't do it because they're where they are. But what Newcastle have done really well is they've got a structure in place and they're trying to build on top of it. Everyone would have to do that. We'd have to do it, and it's the correct way. Almost, I'd rather someone come in and go, we have to create this this structure that the football club starts to pay for itself. We'll have to bring everyone with us, which are us, the stakeholders, as you always say. We'll come with you. But what we will do is bring more expertise, get better commercial stuff, create a better environment. You'll spend a bit more money because everything's feeling better. We'll have the recruitment side run better. And with all of that can filter upwards into the points, which is the first team. We just seem to be pissing in the wind, we've got, to use your phrase.
Well, yeah, because...
But why though, John? You've worked in this industry.
Because people won't make hard decisions ultimately, right? And decisions. See, I don't actually think there are hard decisions ever to make because if you
Ricky, I will come to the super chat moment.
Yeah, if you are doing the process properly, then it's a decision. It's not a hard decision. It's the right decision. You know what I mean? And culturally, this football club. And I know I cliche it with, they never do today what they should have done yesterday if they can get away with doing it tomorrow. That's in the goddamn DNA, right? The Red Star bloody owner or president, whatever, said, what did he say in and around? Are they involved? Some involved with them, right? As part of the defence of that, he says, the fans don't exclusively own the DNA of the football club.
I think they do.
And, well, not exclusively.
Well, not exclusively, but we are.
But
we are.
He was trying to make it. I don't know what the true context, but obviously not very happy fans, just a bit like the ones in Liège, right? But the reality is that for many a long year, we appear to have, as a football club, made decisions based on some cultural default, which may or may not be true. Yeah. So the thing about we never have put ticket prices up forever. Yeah. Or this perception of we have to sign Koeman because the fans already know and they want him, rather than doing the right thing.
The right thing, yeah.
So I think, and we've talked about it on the Business with Blaine stuff again, about, and it's not a negative this, be careful what you wish for. If you want the football club to be run properly, some really heavy decisions you don't like are going to get made. But that's doing it properly. And that could very well include, for example, really significant increases in ticket prices. Because if the stadium is full of people who paid on average 100 quid each, that's better than if the stadium's full if on average people have paid 50 quid, obviously, if your income's double. But if that takes out whole generations of people, be it people who've been going for decades and can't go no more, and so on and so forth, that's a decision that you have made. And I suggest that in the current culture, that emotional side of it, about the impact it would have on the community and all that sort of stuff, might result in us not putting the prices up. In an objective, business-orientated way, with people who are perhaps from North America who actually just want to make it
full. Well, want to make the book, sorry,
Yeah,
the book. I've even thrown America. Yeah, the book. Make the
book stops here.
Yeah, all of that.
But they get the more money, right? They'll just say, "Well, it's life," and that's almost American culture, isn't it? Really, it's like, if you want to go to a match, you work harder so you get more money so you can go, not expect the tickets to be cheaper. That sort of thing. So maybe we then would see that. And I'm making this up. There's no insight here.
No.
That things like family enclosures and junior ticket prices being so low and all those sorts of things, that's all leaving money on the table, isn't it? We've just seen a very crude example of it in the last 24, 36 hours where the football club have actually said something like, as far as buying tickets off the resale platform is concerned, season ticket holders aren't considered club members and only club members can buy from that platform. Now, that's clearly someone tripping over themselves. It's probably not what they meant, but that's what's come out, right? But that's actually quite objective, because that really says to John Blaine, if your granddaughter, who's 2, can't go to game, you can sell the ticket, yeah?
Yeah.
But if you want to buy any from that platform, you can't because you're a season ticket holder and you're not considered a member. So
Right.
buy a membership then.
Get
In other
some
words,
more money.
they're almost saying the cost of being able to buy tickets off the resale platform is 20 quid a year or whatever it is. Now, as it happens, my granddaughters are both members because they're not old enough. Well, one of them is a member, the other one's a season ticket holder. So, Everton, if you see my 2-year-old granddaughter buying tickets off the platform, it might be me. But
clubs
so
are
you'll
doing
get
that,
business decisions being made.
Wrexham do that now.
Yeah, you'll get... But the balance, the trick, and I don't mean it, again, not as a negative, but in the time-honoured, it's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. You can do all the business stuff and people understand...
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Or you can do it brutally, which is really black and white decision making. You know, how much can we put our ticket prices up and the stadium still be full? Do that then.
Yeah.
But what we also said on this, and you've got, if someone's paying for a question, we better get to it.
Yeah.
Right? Is the old culture won't be able to cope, and the old culture is populated by people, and therefore, technically, I guess, the first victims of a change of regime which results in a very objective rather than emotional, subjective approach to running the business will be those people who can't change. You know, and there'll be loads and loads of people going down the road. And also, and again, we talked about it, in the same, if you like, we're part of the community, the People's Club thing, there is no doubt we have more people employed than are needed to produce what the people who are employed produce. Yeah. In other words,
absolutely. Yeah.
We're a bit top heavy on numbers, right?
Need to reduce
and
that.
a truly objective new owner, or rather the people they put in to manage it, will go through the place like a dose of salts. Why there's 27 people over here when we need 6?
Well, that's
why
that's
the ticket
way it is.
prices over here? Why is this? Why is that?
Yeah, but
Why is
people
the other?
would. I think. I'm speaking for myself, obviously. I'm speaking for anybody else.
You're a fan.
Other than myself, as an Evertonian, as a season ticket holder. They've already put my season ticket up.
Yeah.
I'm seeing worse football than I've seen for years, but it's gone up. And I expect it'll go up again at Bramley Moore. Right?
Emphatically, it
Fine. And people will accept that if we can see results. If the results keep getting worse and you keep putting the prices up, people will drop away. It's just the way it is. But if you take the fans on the journey with you and go, look, we have to increase it by a tenner or whatever it is, each pay, whatever, to create this extra revenue. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to almost reset the club because we believe there's a way to do it and we can be successful by doing that, by building everything up. You can quote Brighton and Brentford till you're blue in the face. This is how we want to do stuff. We're going to be doing our bit, trying to raise new commercial partners and bring in, finish higher, more money.
Everything the
better
club
recruitment.
does should be about generating income.
Exactly, but bring us with it then. So instead of going, well, the easiest way to do it is make every match ticket at 100 quid. No, encourage the fans.
You said to me, right?
They have to, hang on, encourage the fans that, to spend more of their income with the football club.
Absolutely.
Not ripping them off, but creating opportunity so you've got a fair trade of money. If you've got that extra bit of money, spend it with us, because that money ultimately feeds back into what we're trying to do, which is put that on the pitch. And together, if we're all unified, and we've proved this, wasn't as evident last year, but people did stay with the club. But certainly the end of when Lampard was here, that when everyone just put every grievance aside and backed the team with the coach welcomes and all that, we dragged them through the thing. We saw in COVID, without us, football's crap. Like,
Totally.
genuinely crap.
Yeah, that's when
It was all, like Ped often says
that's
to
when
me.
Gary Neville became an evangelist, when he realised it clicked.
Well, that's it. But Ped often
Actually-
says to me, just go back and watch a few of those COVID games. And like every now and again, I see some like Zach will show me, Dad, remember this? And he'll put on, the ground's empty and you're watching, and it is like,
It's not a game.
it's like 3/4 pace football. No one really sprints. It's weird. There's no energy. You can see there's no that extra
no
bit
fire.
of energy. There's no, and they score a goal and they're like clapping and
Okay.
joking, and it's flat.
Yeah.
Within a couple of years, if that was like, this is it going forward, football would die.
Absolutely.
It'd be nothing.
Absolutely.
And therefore, you have to use your best asset, And our football club has moved away from that in the last few years. I don't know why.
It's not the last few. It's a long time.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It's been, the cracks have been there going that way, haven't they?
They have accelerated.
Nice, but the last couple of years it's got worse. And sometimes it's not really been the football club's fault, and other times it emphatically has been the football club's fault. And what we have to do somehow, and I'm not, these don't sound like the people to do it, but we'd need someone to almost put everyone back in the mix and go, this is the only way we all get back on the same page.
I mean, hear what you say, and you said take ticket prices as an example of they've gone up already, and that's after 10 years or more of not going up at all.
Yeah.
So it's almost like playing catch up type of thing. But that was just avoiding doing the right thing for 10 years, wasn't it? If you think about it, because they should have been.
Well, they should have just edged it up, and then people will go, all right, I accept it.
But if you're one of the people who the next ticket rise is the one, that means you can't go no more.
Yeah.
Right. You might go, you know what, right now, this second, it wouldn't bother me because it's rubbish, right? But if in a 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, we'll win everything under the sun, or it's just fun to go the game again, and the stadium's always full, and everyone then, even in the club, believes and accepts that it was built too small, and you have no chance whatsoever of ever getting in that ground with any regularity after 30, 40, 50 years of supporting the club. You've been priced out, and yet the guy who spent 7 or 8 years at the club running hospitality said in his first couple of weeks to me, I don't care whose bums are on the seats as long as there's bums on them. Now, that wasn't building brand loyalty. That wasn't building annuity business, which keeps coming back because Baz is hooked. And all that happens when his season ticket renewal comes up is he decides when's he going to pay it. Don't even look at the number.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased in some
I have to look at the number.
But I'm pleased in some respects that stuff I've banged on at the club for many a long year, and they haven't done it with us yet. And if they're watching this, please do, because I'm sure there's lots who will do what I'm advocating, and fans will do it, and the club will benefit. I said, give me a multi-season season ticket. I'll sign up for 10 years right now if you want. Yeah? No, they're doing with the hospitality, making them sign up for 3 years. I'd sign up for 10 years.
Not if they tell me I've got to pay for it.
No, not up front. No.
No chance.
But the point being, every year we go through the charade of signing up again. There's 12 months in a year. Take 50 quid off me every single month for me 600 quid season ticket. And if it's, a 1,200 quid season ticket, take 100 quid off me every month forever. Just keep taking it. Yeah. Right. And therefore, you've got cash flow guaranteed to some degree.
Okay. Yeah.
But also you can turn around to, and maybe you have to give a full season's notice that you don't want to do it. We all do it with mobile phones. We do it with Sky.
Not a full season, though, John.
No, well, whatever. But Sky give us a contract, and we want to get out of it. We have to pay them and all sorts. You know what I mean? They're the sorts of very low-hanging fruit types things that can be done by having a commercial person at board level whose only objective in life is to drive up income. And then you have natural challenge around the board about, hang on a minute, that won't resonate very well, because the example for you is, how could you get more money out of our fans? Well, everyone buys merchandise, say. Well, why don't they buy it now? Is it because it's too expensive, because it's not in the stores, or it's because it's not sexy and they want it, or is it all of the above? The answer is it's all of the above.
And a bit of emotion.
So when you want continuous improvement, this is where Terry Smith will talk about continuous improvement. NS&O is rubbish. They're not mutually exclusive. You can have both. But you have to have a cause and effect. If you want to drive up income from, say, retail, you've got to make stuff people want to buy. Yeah. If you want to increase ticket prices, you've got to make people want the product. And the way you make people want the product is to have more people wanting to buy than there are tickets available to sell, and that drives the price up. So for a short period of time going into Bramley Moor, you can put your prices up to whatever you bloody like, almost. As long as Everton are in the Premier League, people who want to go to that destination, aren't they? Then you want to extract as much wallet share out of me as you can. You often say, you go all around the country, Well, that means I spend more money watching Everton away
than you do at
than
home.
I spend watching them at home. And I've said for years to Everton execs, why don't you try and get my away wallet to be spent at home? Now, we know we want Everton fans to go to away games because it helps. But you can do that in a way whereby you think, well, John's spending $5,000 a year or whatever it is, or more, maybe, I don't know, whatever it is. If we could get that, we're perhaps getting 3 or 4, 5 times.
Because everybody else is getting your money, not Everton Football Club.
Absolutely, And that's when you get into 13,000 people in a fan zone at Bramley Moor. That's what people are talking about.
But this is
now.
what...
And it sounds great, but where's the plan to get people in?
Yeah.
Where's the plan to get 20 quid out of them?
Right, let me do this.
Game and so on.
Right, Ricky on the super chat says, afternoon, gents, I'm happy with the new additions. But in all honesty, do you think we have the squad depth to stay up, given our injury record?
Absolutely do.
Someone asked me the other day, once I calmed down after Sheffield United.
Did you have a mic on?
And no. But we had a good conversation about it. It's someone who's very, very thoughtful about the game. There's no reaction. It works in the game, just very thoughtful about it. And was like, what do you think? And the question was, do you think they're better equipped this season than they were last season to stay up?
At this stage?
Just with what they've got.
Yeah, at this stage.
And I said, yeah. And he agreed.
Yeah,
He was like, well, they are. Quite simply because, okay, last year you could argue we had more defensive options. That's a fact. We did. We had Mina and we had Cody in with what we've got. But we have got Branthwaite there, whatever. But we didn't have anything in the final third. We had Dwight McNeil overperforming everything he's ever done in his life, and I hope that's his new level. Be great if it is. But Jack Harrison back again running, all of that, which is great. And we've got Dom, and we've got Beto. Schmitty's an unknown quantity. We've got, Damari Gray's gone out the door, but we've got Dan Juma. So offensively, we are well more equipped to do better than we did last season. Defensively, it's a work in progress, but we've still got 4 centre-back. Doesn't matter whether you scream at the screen now, that whether you like Michael Keane or Ben Godfrey or whatever, we've got a very capable defence, with Seamus Coleman coming back to be available as well. Helps, of course it does.
Good goalie.
The keeper's decent, and with midfield, we've got a good array of midfielders. I don't think the manager's using them correctly, and Onana was played in a 6 for Belgium again the other day. Doesn't matter, it's where he plays. If you go and look at where he plays and he's most effective, it's in the number 6. It's not pushing higher up the pitch. So once the manager works that out,
passing is superb.
That'll be fine. So I think we will need people to stay fit. I would say that we do. But I don't look at every single squad and go, if they get injuries, they're fine. We often look at like Bournemouth, say, for argument's sake, go, they've got a good squad then, they're whatever. Bournemouth lose 2 of their defenders, they're in trouble. If they lose 2 attackers, they're in the same as what most teams in the bottom half are, and we're in that, of course.
Look at the shower from across the road, how fearful they were of one player leaving in that window and going to Saudi for lots and lots of money. Because he's the catalyst for everything.
But they've still got great options. But they were just looking at him and being a bit worried about him. And they still had 4 other tremendous options. So I think
they've got 5 players we'd have in our
team. Oh God, only I think there's more. Every one of their forwards waltzes into our team,
and yet they were worried about that one player going.
So you have to look, and I get it. I get people will look. I think if you look at all the numbers point to we've got to be better defensively, and we've got to take our chances. And if we do that, we'll be nowhere near trouble. The numbers will prove that to you. The amount of chances Everton have created and they're missing. The amount of we're giving up too many chances.
We're underperforming next year and all that stuff, aren't we?
So if it carries on, it's a small sample size, we haven't played with 3 of the 4 teams we played aren't very good. So you can look at it again like that. But I do think we're okay. Obviously, a couple of injuries changes stuff. It changes stuff for many teams, not just Everton. That's the way you'd have to look at it. But ideally, you've got 25 players. All of them are brilliant. And
you're called Man City.
You don't drop off. Even City haven't got 25 great players. And the quality doesn't drop when you make 3 or 4 changes. We ain't in that position. No. But I would suggest 12 teams out the Premier League aren't in that position, and maybe even more. So
Tottenham are not in that anymore.
Things like they have. To be fair though, they have bought well this summer. But I think we're all right, Ricky. If we get, sounds stupid, we just got to take our chances and we'll be fine. Manager's got to work out the structure of the team properly, where Onana should play.
If our squad, as it is now, had been the squad for the first game of the season, we would be already
and we would
better.
be in a different position. Clive Long says 777, a bad day for the club. Professor Poopy Pants said the 777 news is nauseating. Martin Kitney says, I know very little about 777, just noise that they are bad guys. What are the major issue that other teams haven't realistically? Do they have money to purchase us? Seems like their own decision. Well, we've discussed that, haven't we? The other teams are saying they haven't done what they said. John's saying, have they got the money to purchase us? We don't know.
The non-sporting behaviour hasn't been great.
No.
With the airlines and reneging on payments for aeroplanes and stuff like that. But don't forget, that's all the businesses they own, not them per se.
Everton Vikings says still fully of the belief that 777 will not be able to buy Everton. There's multiple reasons. I don't believe they have access to funds they would need. There's zero evidence they'd be able to do that. They would also fail the fit and proper test, because they'd have to provide the Premier League with a financial statement of proof of where the money is coming from, not only to buy Everton, but also proof that they can afford to run Everton day to day, which I'm 99% certain they'd not be able to. You cannot also do leverage buyouts in the Premier League, which would be their only way of raising funds.
That's what we talked earlier on. That looks like what they might do.
So it's all much of a muchness. I think there's probably another party close to taking over, though. And that, again, that's what you said before, which is possibly that the way Machiri coming down the back door while you put all the noise at the front and you open the back door for
and the
someone.
Far Eastern thing, notwithstanding, you talked about state ownership and influence isn't allowed no more. I think Alan in his had talked to camera for Sky Sports News, talked about, and there's others who don't want the profile. So they could be the quietly spoken ones in the background who Farhad's levering against each other.
Let's hope so.
But remember, we had these same conversations, not just about MSP, but prior to then, you know, the guy from the Patriots, what was his name? Was it the Patriots?
For us?
Yeah, last year, wasn't it?
Oh, the Kaminskis?
No,
that was last year. No, when?
Moore.
John Moore,
yeah. Same sort
that
of
was
thing.
in 2016.
Was that how long ago? Oh, of course it was. It was when
Machiri got it,
But people like that, you know? And then, like you say, the Kaminskis and stuff. But until it's done, it's not done. You know? And you come through the door. If Farhad saying I only want investment, how do you get to meet him? By saying you're prepared to invest. Once you've got him, you know, around a coffee table or in a nice fine restaurant, you say, how about we buy the whole thing off you? You know.
I mean, what we'll finish in a minute, but a lot of people are just airing their concerns about 777.
Don't worry about what you can't affect.
You know,
not right now, anyway.
Yeah. I do look, and it does perplex me, and people can say to me, the reason why others aren't getting involved is because of the hole we're in. But that hole we're in,
opportunity,
allegedly, is when you're looking at the amount of money that's out there, right? That hole that we are allegedly in is relatively small when you're talking about the money that if it is, say we owed this rights and media, say it was fully maxed, like a credit card. Say it was fully maxed, right? So we were in debt to 200 million quid, right? You know you've got to buy Machiri, and that's the debt for him. You're going to buy him out, and he says, give me 600 million, John, and the club's yours. I'll take me 600 million and I'm gone. And I've all my shares, whatever. I've got 600 million. I'm happy with that, and I'm out of here. So you think, okay, I've got to pay Farhad 600 million, and this right to me, I want them gone because I don't want them.
But that's a personal decision.
But that's a decision, isn't it? Yeah. You might use them.
So
you might
just
say,
keep paying the interest.
Exactly, we're fine. But say you wanted to get rid of them, so there's 800 million.
This is the chat we had on the sofa.
Yeah, so there's 800 million, and say it's, the number keeps changing, but say it's 200 million.
Just because you end up with a nice round billion.
To complete the stadium.
So you're looking for someone with $1 billion in liquid assets.
And you've got the football club with no debt as, you know, owing anyone. You've got it. Your stadium's guaranteed to be finished. I now own a Premier League club on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey.
Good man.
Stadium looks fantastic. I'm coming in, I'm going to make sure that there's another 103 seats at least put in the stadium
So
so
Baz
that
is happy
there's
that's
none of this
53,000.
nonsense of 50. The number cannot begin with a 5 and a 2 in 2024
No,
in
it
Premier
can't.
League football.
No, it can't.
We can't build a new stadium and be the 10th biggest state. It's
No.
nonsense. I've got £1 billion. And then...
A tenth of what Man United are.
Exactly,
Owners
right?
want.
Apparently they want 10 billion. And then I'm thinking, if I invested another £500 million over the next 5 years into the team, and it wouldn't be as easy as that, but structure a team and money there to think, that's £1.5 billion to have a Premier League football club with a brand spanking new stadium, own it with no debt, and we run it with the right people. United, but there was 5 or 6 wanting to spend £5 billion on United. Now I get it, Man United are huge, they're the biggest club in the world. I get it, but there was still 3 and 4 it ended with, and then they were picking them off, who were interested at £5 billion. So if you can have for £3.5 billion cheaper,
But North American analysts
all of that done.
Yeah, absolutely. North American analysts said a number of years ago, perhaps 2-ish, that in 10 years' time, as they describe it, all Premier League franchises would be worth $5 billion and more. So in your little story there, we just converted it to pounds because it's easier. You're saying spend $1 to $1.5 billion now, and in 3 or 4 years' time, in theory, you could sell that same asset property
For 5,
for
say.
5.
And you've made 3.5
And if
billion.
United ever goes for 10, then that appraises everybody because the RS will think they're worth 10 as well. Yeah, and we're in the same city with a brand spanking new stadium, right on the bank.
I just think even...
and so on and so forth. And you got to get the sporting side right, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But in this,
But by doing it structurally, John, and going to whoever, right, how do you think... Like Kevin Thelwell and the recruitment team, wherever it may be, and
Not many
Sean
of them
Dykes,
now.
whatever, they've done all right this summer with a very limited budget. Give them a bit more, and let's see. You tell them what you want, the way Brighton have done it. We want this kind of play. We do. This is the model we want to try and create. I'm sure he knows it anyway. Or if he doesn't, change him. Get someone in who does. Who goes like, want to buy young, make the thing, make the money.
it's not
sell
rocket science, though, is it?
No, it's the. I mean, anyone, people playing Football Manager could come into Everton and
Because
tell
if you
them.
say Kevin and his team had a decent summer, because you look at the assets and what they've allegedly cost so far.
Yeah.
And you say, well, why didn't you do that last summer then? And before you, Kevin, the summer before and the summer before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because there's no money in your wallet, right? That's not the only time not to spend money, is it?
No.
You know, but we all know in our social lives, we've all got mates or had mates who, if there's £100 in his wallet, it ain't going to be there long.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of
God,
thing.
yeah.
And that's the guy who halfway through the night's got no money left, and you're going, well, where's it got? I had a few shots, you know, whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's about discipline, and that's about process and procedures, but it's also about culture.
But you could grab us as a fan base if you took over and went, look, this is what we're doing, and we have to do it this way. It's simple, but all come with us on the journey.
But everything
is bought by winning games of football.
Yeah, but of course.
But if you're doing the right thing, I think most fans will get behind it, because we all need to see that. We all need the hope to go, we're going to there, we're going to that place, we're all on this journey together, we can get there. If we all keep going and people in a football club keep going, oh, it's too hard, we can't ever win the league, we can't ever win a cup, we can't ever get into Europe, what's the point? No. Burn it down. What's the point? Because those people shouldn't be at my football club.
Absolutely agree.
Everyone, when you walk in that door, should be going, my aim is to play my part in this team winning the Premier League and playing in the Champions. That's my aim. That's where we're going. Ain't going to stop.
So you have metrics, don't you, for everything?
Exactly. And it might be difficult, but at least if we aimed for winning the league, or we were going, that's where we're going, everybody's squeezing every last drop. If you fall a little bit below, you're still in Europe, you're still having a good time, your team's still getting results, fans are still a lot happier. Winning always buys you time to do the next bit. And
Doing
that's
the
what
right
we
thing
need.
buys you time.
Yeah. So, let's see anyway. Let's see what happens. Long way to go on this one, of course.
Months, potentially.
We'll see what happens. We'll be all over it. But let's hope. Or let's see if there is someone there going, okay, well, let's see if they can get a deal agreed for whatever it may be.
If people can get their head round it, and you know, I have my mantra, don't worry about what you can't affect type of thing. And it's possible that with a 777, maybe we do have to try and affect it for the reasons we've talked about. But would you buy Everton Football Club right now and then find out next month they got a 10-point deduction?
No.
Yeah.
But I also know that that's not going to happen.
I know.
But
and
I
you
get
know.
it, yeah.
So the point is...
Well, apparently this lot...
There's an event.
Well, apparently this lot didn't want to do a full takeover because they didn't know what league Everton were going to be in May.
That's right, yeah.
So if these are doing it, then you would imagine that there's other people who are looking at everything and
so
going,
if you're looking
let's
at
see where we are.
From an event point of view, if you felt really uneasy today, don't give yourself 3 months of being uneasy because this thing might very well take that amount of time. Yeah. And with the MSP money having landed, the pressure, forget the rest of it, on the stadium bit, looks like minimally it's been relaxed.
Let's just highlight everything that the club's for sale. Let's send the bat signal to North America and over to the Middle East and Kuwait, who've got loads of money and things like. Let's just send it far and wide.
Listen,
this
Everton's
historic Premier League football club
prospectus for selling this.
We can turn it round.
Should be so compelling. It's not true.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of all the stuff the fans did over the last couple of years, the stuff about the stadium, the city itself.
Maybe we all need to get email accounts from these people and email them fans videos of this club. Come and buy us. Come and turn this club round. Because we're leaving it to the football club and to people, quite frankly, that I'm not convinced they're doing the right thing.
I think the really difficult bit is, and perhaps you're right, we should stop now, but if we end up with new owners instead of Mashiri and Ken Wright effectively, who from day one the fan decide they don't want them, we could very well be done. Yeah.
So that's why we do have to,
and that's why
we have to be careful. We have to keep our eyes on this.
Have to be careful. We have to be careful. We don't allow it to get so far that if we think it should be stopped, it can't be. Otherwise, it's too late. Whilst at the same token, the people entering into it from the other side need to recognise that, particularly with the forthcoming regulation in this country, independent regulator and stuff, which keeps reaffirming the most important stakeholder is the fans. So first test for the intent around that regulation is forget your goddamn owner's fitness test. If the fans don't want this new owner, why would you allow them to the transaction to happen? And
if I'm the owner, I'm thinking, these are a noisy fan base. Can I do what I'm saying I can do? Do you know what I mean?
But it's also that passion, you can monetize that and turn it for good. And our fan base doesn't need a huge amount for us to go into. Sunderland, what are they doing? There you go.
Yeah, they turned it. They've come out.
20-odd-year-old owner for crying out.
25-year-old. Yeah, they've come out and engaged the fans, told the fans what the plan is. The fans have got behind it. They come back through the stadium for them. They're starting to make better progress, buying younger players, getting younger players going forward, and they're dragging the club back to where I think Sunderland should be in the Premier League, or certainly battling to get in the Premier League.
Stadium that would be smaller,
and that's what we need. Exactly. Yeah.
Let's get rid of the bigger one.
Nathan says, but Baz, that requires a change in mentality from the fan base, and it requires a higher standard by the club, the manager, and the players.
He's right.
And Chad says the shoot for the stars bit is right, but worries me as we're currently akin to just limping through the season. No, you're absolutely right, but I think that's what we have to do. Right, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. We are going to be live on More Than a Game in 5 minutes, talking about other things, not just Everton there. But listen, if it's not much else going on, we might dip back to the 777 bit in standard liège. On that one, we'll be over there in 5 minutes. Ped, I think we'll put the hyper supercharged link into the chat, which will just be able to, get yourself over there.
Can he multitask? Can he listen?
He can. So we'll see you in a minute. Okay. Thanks for watching. See you later.